The most common complaint I hear from the working man is that they are unhappy with their lot. Oh, why torment yourself, I ask? The ox cannot become a lion, and why would you want to? Who wants all those responsibilities and worry? You do your job, you eat your food, you go to sleep. Simplicity is beauty.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Bioshock Infinite. Coming to you on this very dreary, rainy Monday afternoon where I am. And here we are at, I think this is called Finkton, like, not Harbor, but Finkton something. And Jeremiah Fink being the sort of, seems to be the main man overseeing the labor sort of sector of Columbia, and developing a lot of the technologies that you see in Columbia. And so yeah, we're getting into an interesting part of this game's storyline, and that is when it starts dealing with unions and with worker stuff. Like this man, he's working on his clipboard. I wanted to shoot those things, but I didn't want to startle everybody with the gun. I was just looking around if there's anywhere I could go in there, but anyway.
Get out of here, snipe. You want to know what we do to pretty little stowaways? Or maybe you don't.
Hey! Just stop for a minute!
Stay away!
I forget what buttons are which. That was awesome of me.
I just want to talk to you!
I said stay away!
Ugh. Elizabeth!
Get away from me!
Just hold up for a minute!
Stay away!
I'm not angry with you! Hey, watch out! Move it! Move!
Stay back!
God damn it!
I am not going with you!
Don't go in there!
I have no need of one such as you!
No, no, no!
No! Let me go!
We got her! There's gotta be another way in.
I always like Booker's not pronunciation, his delivery of God damn it. He says it a lot. God damn it! And it just sounds like a classic video game protagonist thing. I feel like I've sort of said it before, but not really, that Booker reminds me of a lot of like male video game protagonist archetypes, and he has a lot of the mannerisms and speaking patterns of them. And I don't know if that makes any sense, and I'm not really clearly defining like examples of those things, but just generally, I feel like people know what I'm talking about. They're like, you know, in your average, you know, AAA video game with a male protagonist, just the way they talk and like both in the words they use and how they describe themselves and the things they do and everything. Like, I feel like there are some recurring sort of things. That was probably the dumbest observation I've ever made in my life. But I don't really have much to talk about, because I have mixed feelings about this section of the game, because it's where a lot of the more interesting, to me, ideas lie, story-wise, because after this section, we're gonna be getting much more, like, I'm not gonna say that the political aspects of it are gonna go away, but the, focus is going to be much more on the sci-fi elements of the story, on all of the mysterious quantum physics and tear stuff that has been often referred to and vaguely talked about in the game so far, but really hasn't been explained or expanded upon. After that, but until then, we have this section here, which we're gonna be, as you could tell from the end of the last video, gonna be getting more into the Vox Populi group, and that has some interesting stuff. I'm gonna hold my tongue on that subject for now, because we have a lot of other shit to attend to before the relevant stuff in the game to that discussion happens.
Elizabeth, wait! Hey, I'm slipping!
Do not attempt to follow me, Mr. DeWitt.
Elizabeth, I've made an arrangement to get our airship back.
You can get us out of here.
Yes, I just need to supply enough weapons to arm an entire uprising.
And where will we get these weapons? From one of our many friends and allies?
A gunsmith in Finkton should be a walk in the park. What do you say, partners?
You're a liar, Mr. DeWitt. And a thug. But you're also my only means of reaching Paris. Don't get too comfortable with my company, Mr. DeWitt. You are a means to an end. No more.
They live to stir up trouble. So you beware the hyena. They will leave you with naught but the sound of their...
The sound of their what? Anyway, yeah. We are now going to go find the gunsmith so that we can get the guns and bring them back to the Vox Populi so we can get the ship back so we can leave. And as you can imagine, that task is going to take a long time and be divided into a dozen smaller tasks, as things tend to go in such video games. And you're not I didn't want to steal anything. I don't know why that guy's got repeater ammo in his work desk. But yeah, there's no jobs. So you have to find another way in, which is this. I for once did not dick around not knowing where to go and looking for the way you're supposed to go. But yeah, here is a big ol' place with a dude, and if you awaken the dude, which, yeah, there you go. I forget I don't know who says who's there, because he's the only dude that I could see. The Patriot is the only one I could really see, but I guess there were many guys. And this is just a bloody battling. I don't know, as I've said before, I find the combat in this game to be mostly pretty fun. It can get very annoying if you don't have ammo, which is a problem I run into shortly. Not right now, I don't think, but... But yeah, it hasn't exactly happened yet. We're gonna get a little more of it later on when we go into Shantytown. Not to give too much away, but we'll be going into one of the, you know, big, terrible places where, in Colombia, where black people live, and they're in utter poverty, and it's all below everything, and between them and the rest of Colombia is all of the the means of production, if you will, all the factories and all that shit. So, we'll be going in there, and that's when it will be sort of more prominently, prominent. But, that section, and parts of this section of the game, to me, are yet another refutation of what I've mentioned a few times in this LP, of Ken Levine's characterization of the politics of this game, saying that, you know, that the game is not taking on its own ideology. It doesn't, you know, say anything on its own about, like, unions or capitalism or racism or nationalism or American ideology, even though, of course, as I've mentioned before, it does. I mean, by your inclusion of something in a story, you are, like, the inclusion of anything of a story with a perspective, you know, will add a perspective to whatever you're talking about. I don't think that sounded exactly how I wanted it to, but whatever. But the beginning of the Vox Populi section here shows, to me, is the game's story showing the explicit link between capitalism and racism. Like, I'm sure that most people would agree that racism can exist outside of capitalism, but I think it's pretty apparent that capitalism can't exist without racism, or at least never has. Just because of the dehumanization element inherent in it. But anyway, I'm gonna shut up for a second because this part is cool and I want you to watch it.
And I want to share with you my personal creed. What is the most admirable creature on God's green earth? Why, it's the bee. Have you ever seen a bee on vacation? Have you ever seen a bee take a sick day? Well, my friends, the answer is no. So I say, be the bee. Be the bee.
Maybe you should get that.
Hello?
Mr. DeWitt?
Yes?
Hold for Mr. Fink, please.
What's going on?
DeWitt, Fink here. Listen, my boy, we've had our eye on you, and I can tell you right now that you are our top candidate. Top! Now, my associate, Mr. Flambeau, will help you with anything you need.
What the hell was that?
I have no idea.
He seems oddly pleased to make your acquaintance. Well, the man's got an ego.
Now, some say to me, Fink, why is it that we get paid in tokens that are only good at the company store? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll be damned if I let any of you poor folk get robbed at some shady establishment. You see, the Fink company store brings you Fink products at a price designed specifically for the Fink worker.
Mr. DeWitt, welcome to Finkton. You'll find a variety of supplies here that should see you through your visit.
What does Mr. Fink want with us?
Excuse me, miss, but Mr. Fink's interest is strictly in the gentleman.
But why?
So sorry, young miss, but any questions regarding the gentleman's application should be taken up with Mr. Fink directly.
Does this strike you as good news? Doesn't strike me as good news.
Yeah, not sure what's going on with Fink right now, but he seems to dig us,
Head to the Gunsmith,
but probably not
scavenge supplies
for
on the
real,
top shelf.
obviously. And Fink reminds me, isn't there a similar character in the original Bioshock who's like the sort of scientist-y person behind stuff, and he like not advises you, but you correspond with him over the course of part of the game, and I think he dies or something. I don't know. It's weird to think of who is alive or dead in this game because, well, for one thing,
I have a pressing need to speak
like,
to this so-called shepherd, stirring up so much trouble.
well, without getting into any spoilers, I just hit my mic with my headphones. Without getting into spoilers, obviously with all of these tears in alternate worlds, it's hard to know which realities are the ones we are meant to accept as real or not. But on top of that, you know, like, I don't know, you just hear a lot of disembodied voices in this game through voxophones and stuff, and you never know exactly what the deal was with any of them. And yeah, here's Buddha Shrine.
Something tells me Comstock doesn't cater to idols getting worshipped that ain't him. Hello? Hello? Mr. Lin? Chen, Lin? Is anybody here? Someone worked this place over. Local constabulary, no doubt.
Do you hear that? There's someone downstairs.
Excuse me. Ma'am, I'm sorry to bother you. We're looking for Mr. Lin. Mr. Chen Lin.
Booker.
Mr. Lin not here. He gone.
Gone?
They take flying squad. I pray, Gautama Buddha. Pray, give husband back. Give back to Meilun.
Where did they take him?
Club. Everyone take to good time club.
Where is this club? Ma'am, please, where is this club?
Booker, we'll find it. Just leave her be.
Why not Vox Populi help Chen Lin? Why not Daisy Fitzroy help Chen Lin?
Cops. Kind who probably got their boot on Lin's throat asking him how well he knows Daisy Fitzroy.
Isn't she the one we're working for?
As a matter of fact, it is. All right, let's figure out where this good time club is.
So, this game's portrayal of Daisy Fitzroy is complicated, to say the least. And before we go further, if anyone wants to help me out, because I'm trying to remember and I can't fully, I don't fully remember it, of why exactly Daisy Fitzroy did not help Chen Lin, or what has happened to Chen Lin, which you'll see soon, why that happened, you know, the exact extent of the nefarity of Daisy Fitzroy's actions, because I guess I'm jumping ahead of, I'm going a little ahead of the ball here, but I'm about to fucking die from this handyman anyway. I'm jumping the gun a little bit on this, but the game will essentially end up equivocating Daisy Fitzroy with Zachary Comstock. And obviously, I think this is a poor storytelling decision. My exact thoughts on that, I guess I'll leave for a little bit later. But, the idea being that, like, they both just wanted power and they used people's, like, I guess their, I don't want to say qualms with the world, but, like, basically see, I'm having trouble even really articulating what the supposed sameness is, because I think they want to say that they both appealed to something in people and used that to secure power by making a cult of personality. But what Fitzroy does, I guess I'm going to get into the reasons right now, but what Fitzroy does and what Comstock did are very different to me. Like, even if, like, I'm not even saying that it's impossible or, like, stupid that the sort of socialist, anarchist movement leader would do something bad, or, you know, would betray someone, or would hold on to power once they had it through bad means or whatever. That has happened with actual socialist governments in the past. But, like, Comstock created a cult of personality because he equated himself with divine beings. He created divine beings and then postured himself as a prophet of them. But, like, what Fitzroy was doing was speaking to the material lives of people. Like, it was a worker and poor movement where they had been oppressed by Comstock and were taking back the value of their labor, which helped build Columbia. And, like, that's very different. I mean, to me, it's a little bit like the game equating someone like Nat Turner with, you know, fucking whoever, like Andrew Jackson, like whatever sort of American-style fascist you want to talk about. And also just thinking kind of more big picture than just whose individual actions are better or worse, Comstock's or Fitzroy's. Fitzroy, I think, was on the moral right side of things, where, you know, she was trying to establish justice for people. I don't know. And while Comstock was trying to, you know, like, have, you know, cultivate a culture of white supremacy and American exceptionalism and nationalism, but I don't know, those are very different things, but it is a complicated thing. We'll get more into it later. I'll see you next time for more stuff.